77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts, including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro, Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, on this Sunday morning. Yes, the voice of God is correct. I am Joe Concha. I am a Fox News contributor and the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Greatest Comeback Ever, Inside Trump's Big, Beautiful Campaign, Unburdened by What Has Been. Great show today. We have Jerry Willis coming up, also a New York Times best-selling author, my friend over at Fox Business and Fox News, and Christian Toto, award-winning film critic. Now, I know on the show we don't do the film thing very often, but Superman is a big deal coming out this weekend, and its directors have decided that, you know what, we're going to come out and make some statements that's really going to piss off like half the country. So James Gunn, and we'll talk to Christian about this, who's the director of the movie, who has had success in Hollywood, decides to come forward and say, you know, this story of Superman really is about immigration and how Superman is an immigrant that came to America to make it a better place. And then his brother chimes in, who's an actor, and says, and if you don't support immigrants, then you're not an American. No, guys, we don't support illegal immigration. Legal immigrants come here all day long. That's what makes this country great. Go through the right process, and everybody will welcome you with open arms, including the sitting president, who is literally married to an immigrant. Illegal immigration, however, can destroy a country. We see it over in Europe, and we're seeing it in the United States as well, thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and an open border letting in somewhere between 15 to 20 million people, including known terrorists and those who have literally murdered, raped, and molested Americans. And that's who Donald Trump and Tom Homan and ICE, those are the folks that they're getting out right now, as far as MS-13 gang members. And down the line, as far as if you committed a violent crime here, you're going to be the first to go. And we see Democrats, they're still doing this. It is utterly remarkable, saying that they will get up in the faces of ICE agents. They're begging to be arrested so they could go on CNN and MSNBC to play the victim. And then on 3 separate instances over the past week, we have seen ICE agents and police officers literally ambushed by absolute far-left lunatics, twice in Texas, where one officer was shot in the neck. Thank God he's going to be okay. 10 people in tactical gear with mud on their faces, drawing agents out of a facility by shooting fireworks at it, only to try to lure them in to 2 snipers waiting in the woods to take them out. And then in California, again, where a park is about to be swept by ICE that literally has MS-13 gang members in it. Some were arrested, and Democrats are saying, you can't do this. They should be thanking President Trump and Tom Homan for making these cities like Los Angeles, like Chicago, like New York, better places to live when you don't have criminal elements in it like MS-13 gang members and murderers and rapists and child molesters. But no, this is the side that Democrats are taking at this point. And maybe the reason why is because they're listening to people like Jasmine Crockett. And Crockett, and this is utterly remarkable to me, she is now saying that all this violence that you're seeing, it doesn't come from the left. Like all those Tesla dealerships that were being firebombed and shot at, that wasn't the left. And all these ICE agents being attacked in major American cities, that's not the left. It's actually MAGA. This is cut 4. Go.
The violence doesn't come from Democrats, just to be clear. I mean, obviously anyone can be a criminal, but it is MAGA. It's specifically MAGA faction. Like, I don't think traditional Republicans are getting engaged in all of this, but like, even when we look at, and they don't talk about the assassination attempts anymore that took place with Donald Trump, but these were Trump supporters, right? As well as this most recent situation, they tried to flip it and say, oh, the leftists are, I'm like, this doesn't even make sense, right? But it's only like MAGA that does this.
I would rather right now go out to my garage, make sure that the garage door is down, then roll down the windows, start the car, and breathe in the fumes until I start to get a little passy-outy. Because if I have to listen to this person again, and I'm sorry I played it. I regret actually giving this person any airtime. It's such a popular show. But Jasmine Crockett is now saying that she wants to run for Senate in Texas. And if you're a Republican in that state, you are begging for this to happen. Because she's the new AOC. She gets more airtime than almost any Democrat. Says the most ridiculous things. You may notice about that clip, by the way, whoever the host was decided not to push back on it. because I guess they like what they're hearing. But this person is completely loco. And if she wants a bigger stage as far as running for the Senate, go ahead. Even better, run for president. It would be awesome. The Crockett-Tim Walz ticket, can't lose. Oh, actually, it'll lose 51 states if that actually happened. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers Foundation show. Back with more in just a moment.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
I just MailChimped my marketing.
You MailChimped your what?
I MailChimped my marketing with AI to create an effective marketing campaign in minutes.
No, MailChimp and Way.
Yes, MailChimp and Way. Now I can hyper-personalize my campaigns across email and SMS.
You can do all that with MailChimp?
What did I just MailChimp and say?
MailChimp your marketing with the #1 AI-powered email marketing and automation platform, Intuit MailChimp. #1 based on publicly available data on competitors' customers. Plans vary. SMS available as add-ons. Visit MailChimp.com.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino Ciao, a new kind of flavored sparkling water. The kind made with real fruit juice, a pinch of Sicilian salt, and the sparkle of the Italian sun. With no added sugar and just 10 or less calories per can, enjoy. With love, from Italy. By San Pellegrino Ciao now.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
Entertaining and informative
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And welcome back, everybody. Joe Concha, Fox News contributor. Let's bring in our next and best guest, of course. This is Christian Toto. I contacted Christian because he has a great podcast. Hollywood in Toto podcast is the name of it. This is an award-winning film critic. You're saying, what are we talking about films for, Joe? Well, arguably the biggest release of the year is happening right now with Superman. And again, we've had a lot of Supermans over the years. I remember I was something like, I don't want to age myself here, but 6 years old when the first one came out. I didn't see that one. I saw the second one in 1980 when I was a little older, I guess, to handle the content, which I thought was great with General Zod. And I think it was Terrence Stamp who played him, who was just amazing as him. And it was funny, and it was obviously a great movie. But ever since then, they've kind of gone downhill. I mean, Superman 3, Richard Pryor, rest of his soul, horrible. There was a fourth Superman with Christopher Reeve, which almost no one saw at that point. It just petered out. And then the different iterations we've seen since, especially the ridiculous Batman versus Superman, where Batman basically beats Superman, which no, that ain't happening in 1,000 worlds. And Ben Affleck, it wasn't crazy about the portrayal. I don't know. So now this one apparently is supposed to get back to the roots of the Christopher Reeves kind of Superman, but the director, James Gunn, is telling us now in interviews as if he's personally trying to do a Snow White to this movie, as far as Rachel Zegler saying that, well, actually, Superman is a story about immigrants, and he's an immigrant that came to our country, and you're listening to this oh, God, I feel like I'm watching MSNBC. So let's bring in Christian right now. He has basically not the full review out, but I'm reading your X page right now, Christian. You say, quick version, nothing super here, and Gunn's days as a go-to comic book director are clearly over. Wow. So you saw the movie. Give us a more full review there.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. I, like you, grew up on the original, and Christopher Reeve just set the bar so incredibly high. Yeah. It's unfair for almost anyone to tackle it now. Here's the problem. James Gunn did the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and they were successful and fun. And he has a lighter touch, which is certainly welcome. And, the original Superman was a comic story in a way. It was funny. It was sweet. It was uplifting. And I think he's trying to go for a lot of that. But the story is a mess, and the jokes don't land. And it's plot holes aplenty, so many cringy subplots. The fact that there's so much writing on this movie and they couldn't really tweak that in shop, as it were. It's very disappointing. Now, I have to say, it's getting a lot of polarizing reaction from critics and fans. It seems like the early numbers are good. It seems like people enjoy that. But with pop culture movies like this, the initial wave is the hardcore fans. They are easier to please. They're dying to love their movie. So I think that's reflected there. But the bigger story really is the director shooting himself in the foot, as it were. And when your name is Gunn, I guess it's inevitable. But why he would make this a political football, I just don't know.
And that's the thing. It's not just James Gunn, but his brother, Sean Gunn, as well, who is an actor, not the biggest name in the world. But here's what he had to say about this. We support our people, We love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant. And yes, people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, you're not American. People who say no to immigrants are against the American way. Now, I wrote about this for the Washington Examiner. Let's be very clear about this. Nobody is against legal immigration. When they go through the proper paperwork, proper channels, it's done legally. And the fact that the left, and I guess Sean Gunn is the left, obviously clearly an actor in Hollywood, they tend to go that way for the most part. But when they start echoing what we hear from Democrats and on CNN about how Trump, for example, is anti-immigrant, he literally married an immigrant. I mean, what more do you want, right? And he's said 1 billion times that he's for legal immigration, but illegal immigration is what basically got Donald Trump back in the White House as the 47th president. So when you hear this argument, it's enough to make your hair hurt. And they, not just James Gunn, but Sean Gunn running to Variety, for example, to make these comments, and it goes viral. Do you think this whole, I know the movie's going to do well weekend one. I think that the test is, can it do well in weekend two? Will it be like a hockey stick and just word of mouth and it just keeps going up and up like a Titanic, for example? Or will it be like the literal Titanic where, yes, the hardcore come out week one and then people say, this isn't all that great, and then week two, a big drop off?
Yeah, that's a bigger question. I think there's so much built-in curiosity. It's almost too big to fail in a way. But the very last thing you need to do or want to do with this kind of a thing is to alienate fans. So listen, these movies, the budgets are massive. The marketing budgets are just as big. You can't alienate any group of audience. It's just not wise. And the fact that the entire rollout for Superman for months and months and months has been upbeat and positive and apolitical, and at the last minute, the director and his brother pull this is just shocking. And I don't know. So you can throw a couple of theories. One is they know the movie's not great. They're kind of doing some damage control, or they want the media to be on their side for this project. And if they make it political, then the left-leaning media, which is almost everything, will kind of become their allies. So there's that. Or they're just dumb. You can't rule out that possibility. They're just dumb because this is the dumbest move possible. We just went through Rachel Zeglergate, the Snow White project, where all she did was trash the project, and all she did was mock Trump voters, saying that they should never know peace, and the movie tanked. I mean, there couldn't be a clearer example of trying to build bad buzz than Rachel Zegler. And they saw that and they said, I don't care. I need to speak out. I need to conflate illegal with legal immigration, and I need to make this a culture war project. It beggars belief.
I would imagine the studio, which I just looked it up, the budget for this movie overall is about $375 million. So think about what you have to make in order to turn a profit and actually hold your head high. I mean, you're talking about $500 million. So you're going to need more than just the left in the country that goes to movies. And again, not a lot of people go to movies like they used to. And my theory around this, Christian, is that I recently got a 75-inch TV off of Amazon, refurb, meaning it was used at one point, but they kind of put in new parts to it to make it feel new. And I got that for like $300. It's like, wait a minute.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And this thing will be on streaming probably like within like 2 or 3 months. So my thing is always like, why am I going to go to the movies, pay all this money, where I took my kid to go see F1 where Brad Pitt, which I thought was great, by the way. I'll get your review on that in a second.
Yeah.
But it cost me, by the time I went through the popcorn, the soda, and the 2 tickets, north of $80, just the 2 of us. So I think people like watching these things at home just for the cost alone. But yeah, I mean, this movie is going to have to pull in about $500 million in order to make a profit. Do you see that happening?
I'm not sure. Listen, if it's popular, if the word of mouth is strong, I think it's potentially going to happen. But they've set themselves up a big burden here. And it should. Listen, part of the problem is that Hollywood just spends too much money on their movies. That even the ones that are successful, like F1, the Mission Impossible, the newest one, The Final Reckoning,
yeah.
Even when they're doing great box office, even when the reviews are solid, they may not turn a profit because their budgets are just so high. Hollywood's got to figure that out. And like you said, there are so many reasons not to go to the movies these days. Netflix and Hulu and Amazon give you original movies with movie stars. You can just watch at home initially. The cost is exorbitant. And by the way, I saw Superman in a theater at a more traditional setting. Usually I see screenings. I just went as regular folk. How many commercials did I watch? oh my gosh,
Oh.
I had no idea how the burden, I mean, not just trailers, commercials. Or you could go get that 75-inch TV, crank up the sound bar, and all of a sudden you're having a great experience at home. There's so many reasons not to go to the theaters. And then when a James Gunn and a Sean Gunn come out and say, bleep you, we don't like you for your political views, don't come to our movie, sometimes we respond in kind.
Wow. And we're talking to Christian Toto, the Hollywood in Toto podcast. You can listen to that. Where can we listen to that? What's the most popular arena that you're on right now, Christian?
It's on YouTube, it's on iTunes, but most podcast providers will find it. So it's not, you should be able to find it pretty quickly.
Okay, excellent. But you are so right about the trailers. Again, when I took my kid to go see F1, it was a 7:30 movie, okay, and I was a little worried because he's 9 years old, and the movie goes on for 2 hours and 35 minutes, which that also concerned me. I think movies go on way too long these days. Yeah. Now, this was a great movie, and I didn't mind it, because I was glued the entire time, the way you would, like Titanic was over 3 hours, and you could watch that and not feel like you're watching a movie for 3 hours. But the trailers alone, I looked down at my phone because I'm like, I think we're on like the 13th trailer, and then Nicole Kidman coming in that I have to make sure I throw out my popcorn and my soda. I mean, by the time we got through all that, it was almost 8 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm not getting home until 11. But the kid loved the movie, thank God, so he was wide awake. But still, man, what's with all the trailers? It's because I don't remember this as a kid.
No, there used to be 2 or 3 trailers, and it was very exciting. Partly because, years ago, you didn't see the trailers unless you were in a movie theater. Now you can just watch them on YouTube in an instant. I don't know why there was a recent news story saying they're going to add more commercials to the theatrical presentation, which I think is just absolutely a death knell. At some point, people are going to rebel against this. I took my son to see this movie, and I said, hey, there's going to be a lot of trailers. I didn't warn him there's going to be about 14 different commercials before the trailers. I had no idea. Terrible idea. Listen, popcorn's expensive. That's where they make some of their money back. I understand the economics behind that. That seems like that could be maybe addressed in a different fashion. The seats now are comfortable. When I was a kid, you'd have a kid, put someone in front of you with like a tall hat or a big hair. Yeah. You were done. Basically, you should just walk out of the theater. So now they recline. They're beautiful. They're comfortable. Those are good things. But boy, oh boy, there's so much competition for our eyeballs now. They should be doing everything humanly possible to plead and beg with us to come to the theater, which is exactly what Tom Cruise has been doing, and he's basically alone.
I'm glad you brought up Tom Cruise, Christian Toto, because the aforementioned F1, that came from the director of Top Gun Maverick. And movies were struggling mightily until that came along. And I had my reservations because usually the sequel is not as good or better than the original. Godfather 2 being an exception, Empire Strikes Back being an exception, Dark Knight being a big exception as well. But the fact that Top Gun, you could take an actor that was in a movie that came out in 1986 and then plant him in a movie that came out, I guess Top Gun Maverick was 2023, and he looks the same, which is remarkable to me. I could not get over that. And it was, it's now one of my favorite movies. And I was asked, do you think it was better than the original? And I was kind of like, well, both were in different eras. So Top Gun had a very 80s feel for it, like very jingoistic, rah-rah American in a great way and a great plot. But I have to say Maverick may have been better. Where do you come down on that?
I agree. It checks every box you want a movie to check, especially a blockbuster. It's sweet, it's sentimental, great action. It's got a propulsive story. It's got generational divides. It's got a movie star that we've been, seeing on the screen for decades who, like you said, just refuses to age. It just did everything you wanted to, which is why the new F1 is so good, because the same director, it's a different movie. Obviously, it's not as good, but it's got a very similar DNA. It is crowd pleasing. It is slick. It is engaging. There's a real story there. The characters you care about. The dialogue is sharp. It does everything you want a big budget movie to do. And if you're going to pay a crazy fee to sit there in a theater and have some popcorn, you want the bang for your buck. You want something like an F1. You want Top Gun Maverick. And normally you get something that's far inferior.
It's just amazing that I would watch Brad Pitt, say, in Thelma and Louise, right? Back in like the early 90s. And now here he is, age 61. And you watch this movie, you could tell me he's 35, and I would be like, yep, he is. Yep. Maybe not 35, but I'll say 40s at least, right? He's Ocean's 11 guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I liked about both those movies, and even Once Upon a Time in America, and Hollywood with Pitt as well.
Oh, yeah, great.
They make a movie star look like a movie star. They don't shy away from the fact that these are attractive people. We go to the theater because we want escapism. We don't want someone who looks like my neighbor. We want someone who looks like Brad Pitt. And they lean into that, and they make him handsome, and they make him fall in love, and they make him be a star. And that's appealing. And it's something that old and young can appreciate. So that's something that's so missing at times, too, from Hollywood. It's just, hey, let's make beautiful people look beautiful unapologetically. They're movie stars. Let them shine.
The podcast is Hollywood in Toto. You can get it on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get podcasts. Christian, thanks so much for coming on. And again, sounds like, let's see, thumbs down for the new Superman. But you know what? I'm going to go see it tonight because my kid wants me to. And I have a feeling I'm going to have, at least my expectations won't be high. We'll put it that way. Thanks so much for joining us again, Christian.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right. And this is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers Foundation show. Back with more in just a moment.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
At Strayer University, we help students like you go from, is it possible, to anything is possible by offering access to up to 10 no-cost gen ed courses, so you can reach your goals affordably and fast. Visit strayer.edu to learn more. No-cost gen eds provided by Strayer University affiliate Sophia. Eligibility rules apply. Connect with us for details. Strayer University is certified to operate in Virginia by Chev and has many campuses, including at 2121 15th Street North in Arlington, Virginia.
Put us in a box. Go ahead. That just gives us something to break out of. Because the next generation 2025 GMC Terrain Elevation is raising the standard of what comes standard. As far as expectations go, why meet them when you can shatter them? What we choose to challenge, we challenge completely. We are professional grade. Visit GMC.com to learn more.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses are powered by Meta AI, so you can get real-time answers.
Hey, Meta, how bougie is Jade Garden?
It's a trendy spot.
What's a color that pairs with this top?
Consider dark, earthy colors, charcoal or black.
What are some good first date topics?
Consider discussing favorite travel destinations or your favorite books.
Get suggestions, inspiration, and answers from your glasses. Ray-Ban Meta glasses. Iconic style meets Meta AI.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
Entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Concha filling in for Judge Jeanine for a while, I would imagine, since she has a slightly important job in Washington, D.C. as its district attorney hired by President Trump. I'm going to bring in right now Jerry Willis. Jerry and I share something in common in that we are the only two people that have not been hired by the Trump administration. And we're running Fox News now. So, Jerry, congratulations on us and our domination.
It's exciting, right?
It completely is. But in all seriousness, Jerry is a fine reporter for the Fox Business Network. You see her all over the place there, including Friday morning she was on Mornings with Maria, and then, of course, the Big Money Show. Whether she's co-hosting, whether she's reporting, she is a busy gal, like I am a busy guy over at Fox News and Fox Business as well. So they certainly make us earn our paychecks, but it's a labor of love. So, Jerry, first, I want to congratulate you on your New York Times bestselling book. I mean, this is awesome. Lincoln's Lady Spy Master. Just a thrilling... just a saga that I'd never heard of before. And that's what I love about this book, that it's about a Southern belle who basically becomes James Bond and is carrying out espionage for Abraham Lincoln and the Union, and she helped win the Civil War. And this wasn't like a poor gal who said, all right, I'll help out, do whatever I can. I mean, this was a wealthy Southern belle, had it all, the money, the charm, the wit, biggest mansion in Richmond, Virginia, and then she risked everything to become the most productive spy for the Union in the Civil War. What made you want to write about this? I mean, as I'm reading that, I could see why, but this isn't exactly like a timely topic in terms of, well, Trump just won the election, I'll write about that like I did for my New York Times bestseller. But this is a story I don't think many people probably have not learned about until reading your book.
Well, exactly. I had to do a lot of research to find her. She had pretty much been buried by history. It wasn't until 100 years after the Civil War that a former spook walking through the halls of the National Archives came across a room that he had security open for him. He walks in, and there are piles of papers to the ceiling, and he finds out that these are the actual documents, the records of the union's spies. And throughout these pages, we find the name of Elizabeth Van Leeuw. She's not a woman who wanted to publish her own story. And so this is how we start getting an idea of just how important she was. I wrote this story as an inspiration to a lot of the young women here at Fox during the COVID lockdowns who were so distraught over that. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, American women have, they've done so much. They've suffered through so much. They've been able to, do great things despite handicaps. Let's go find a woman who made a big impact on American history and write about her as a way of inspiring these young women.
Incredible. And I certainly want to talk more about this book when we go through a couple of topics first that you've been covering for the Fox Business Network, but certainly want to give Lincoln's Lady Spymaster on sale now. Of course, New York Times bestseller. Get it wherever you get books. But let's talk about some big headlines from this week. And that includes it still is troubling to say this, the front runner to be the next mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. It seems like some more rich folks are now lining up to try to stop him, understanding that if he gets what he wants in terms of government-run supermarkets and free universal health care and free busing and controlling the manufacturing industry, government seizing it is the way that he put it, and obviously then taking over the condos and apartments of rich people to give them to the homeless. I mean, this is not even socialism right now. This is communism on Marxist steroids. And now finally some folks that have some skin in the game are lining up against him. Jerry.
Yeah, that's right. New York's financial crowd is rushing in, and they put together tens of millions of dollars already to back somebody's candidacy, but they haven't even declared on a candidate yet. And I know it sounds like December's a long way away, but it's not really. These people really need to get organized. When this thing first surfaced, when Mamdani first became like a real thing, a real candidate, I said, look, this guy is a socialist. This is New York City, the capital of capital, right? This is where money forms. This is where the New York Stock Exchange is. They really need to get together and start talking about what to do. Listen, I was looking at Mamdani's X, and there's a fascinating, very slick video on it. And in it, he talks about how he won. And here's a small fact. Cuomo, who he beat famously, paid, in terms of how much money he bankrolled, $87 per vote he got. Mamdani paid $19.
Wow.
So Mamdani is able to make his money go further. He's able to spend less. And why? He's a really attractive guy, well-spoken, and he's speaking a language that people, particularly in the outer boroughs here in New York City, want to hear. They want free stuff. They want to be able to buy a house. Donald Trump has sounded some of these themes in terms of making the playing field even for everybody, right? Making it a fair place. And I got to tell you, his ideas are being twisted and turned by Mamdani into a sort of socialist offer for New York City voters, and they're eating it up.
That's an incredible stat, just $19 per voter. That shows his social media prowess, obviously, on TikTok and on X, Facebook, you name it. He can produce these videos relatively cheaply, and he's very, as you said, charismatic, very good in terms of making the sale. Is the reason why so many young folks, particularly young, white, college-educated, mind you, folks, are buying into this is because maybe, despite all that education, they weren't taught about, I don't know, how the Soviet Union collapsed and all the bread lines and all the things that he's proposing was basically the reason why the Soviet Union is no longer the Soviet Union at this point.
Well, I believe the missing education nut here is capitalism and how it works and how its benefits roll out to everyone. So that is something we never talk about in public education. They don't know anything about money formation, how capitalism works, how companies benefit their workers. They don't see that at all. They think it's a bad thing. They've been taught it's a bad thing. And I think that's why Mamdani can get currency, particularly here, where, the outer boroughs here, it's a ton of people from other countries, South Asia, Latinos, Chinese. Mamdani did really well with these groups. And I think that the conservatives are going to have to pay a lot of detailed attention to this, because this storyline is going to roll out to other parts of the country as well.
Amazing. The roadmap for, I never thought I'd say this a couple of years ago, the roadmap for Democrats is to elect more young communists who came to the country 6 years ago. Amazing. And we're talking to Jerry Willis. Let's move on. I guess just one more point around that. Unless Cuomo or Adams drops out, and Adams is a sitting mayor, so why would he do that? And Cuomo was a former governor and with a massive ego, so I don't see him going anywhere, at least for the time being. And obviously Curtis Sliwa, well, he's the Republican nominee, so why should he have to drop out? Unless this thing becomes more of a binary choice, Mamdani can very easily win with 33% of the vote in a city where 20% turnout for mayoral elections. It is a scary time, that's certainly for sure. Jerry Willis, want to move on to how stocks are doing these days, because I'm old enough to remember April of 2025, where every Democrat under the sun would run to CNN and MSNBC and CNBC and say, oh, my gosh, our 401ks are vanishing before our eyes. There are people who've been saving their whole lives. The money's gone. Well, since that time, the Dow Jones is up more than 5%. Had a hiccup on Friday, of course, a little bit of a sell-off. That was expected. But overall, I mean, if you're looking since the beginning of the year, since the election, the stock market is up more than 2,000 points. So if you invested or particularly bought on that dip, life is good. So I guess the tariff thing just doesn't scare people the way it used to.
Well, Liberation Day, don't forget, we lost about 10% on each of the major indexes, right? That was super scary for people. But now, for the most part, not always, when we get some kind of announcement about a new tariff from the White House, stock market doesn't care. It just keeps going up. And there are a couple of reasons for that. First of all, inflation expectations by regular people, then this is according to a survey from the New York Federal Reserve, are dropping. It's falling. People are not expecting higher inflation. Secondly, it looks like we're going to get at least 2 rate cuts by the end of the year, and this is music to the ears of professional investors. That means capital is going to be cheaper. And finally, when you look at the One Big Beautiful Bill, there is an excellent piece of information in there for people who run companies, and that is this, that they can take full expensing on capital expenditures. I believe that you're going to start seeing these companies expand, build out, build more factories, hire more people. I think it's a huge thing that people have not paid attention to that will have a very big impact on the economy, a positive one.
Well, those 2 rate cuts certainly, as you said, music to people's ears. The question is, will Jerome Powell finally pull the trigger on this? I mean, I don't know quite what he's waiting for exactly, but his time will run out soon enough by the end of the year. And we're talking to Jerry Willis. Let's get back to the book, shall we? Because what we're seeing here, I look on Amazon, right? I did when my book was out a couple of months ago, and the reviews are just through the roof extraordinary. So, and I'm not talking about from professional book reviewers, but people who are verified purchasers of the book, so you know that they purchased it. And time and again, I just see the same theme over and over again. They love your writing style. They love the way you tell this story that, again, almost nobody has heard about before because of the reasons that you mentioned earlier, as far as, well, this was a woman in terms of Elizabeth Van Loo, who didn't want her story told, which is amazing. So many people in the modern world say, hey, over here, I need some credit. She didn't want any credit. Why was that?
Well, she was afraid of repercussions. You know, remember, after the Civil War, Reconstruction was very difficult for much of the South. It was very violent. She was still getting threats from organizations, from individuals in Richmond, and she was well known by that point, right? I mean, her story is so inspirational for people because she knew what she was risking. And she did it anyway. She chose to do it. And it's because she couldn't just square herself with the idea of slavery continuing in Virginia. She was a huge lover of her home state, the Commonwealth. She thought slavery had ruined the state. And very importantly, she didn't want to see secession. She thought that was wrong. She thought Virginia had been the cradle of the presidency, an important role in America's history, and there was no way the state should secede from the Union. So she felt very, keenly about these issues and wanted to fight for the country and for ridding her state of slavery.
you are a breast cancer survivor, and I remember when you were going through the treatments, and the fact that you've come out on the other side, it appears that you're cancer-free at this point. I hope I'm not assuming anything, but just to go through something like that, I'm sure it gives you a special appreciation for having a New York Times bestseller and the work that goes into it.
I can't tell you how gratifying it is that 9 years after coming out of breast cancer treatment, here I am with this book. And I was thinking about how women, everybody really needs to think about why you're here and why you need to keep going, and how some of the best things in your life may be yet to come. I know a lot of people don't like to take those tests. They don't like the mammograms. They're worried about doing it. But at the end of the day, you might be stopping something really wonderful from happening to you if you don't get tested.
Yep, and it's so preventable, as you said. So everybody out there, especially women, get those mammograms. Get it checked. It doesn't take terribly long. And again, if you catch it stage 1 early, then this is something that can very easily be treated. If you wait too long, then that could be a different story. So Jerry, inspiring stuff, both the book and your own personal story. Thanks so much for joining us here on WABC.
Thank you, Joe. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. And we didn't insult each other once, which is remarkable. Usually we bust each other's chops, but this has been very civil, so we have to get back to that.
Was I supposed to do that? Do you have another 3 minutes?
We're going to go easy on me today, so thank you, and I'll see you in a green room soon. You're welcome. The great Jerry Willis, everyone. And this is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers Foundation show. Back with more in just a moment.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show, hosted by Joe Concha.
Now at Chipotle, our all-new Chipotle Honey Chicken brings Chipotle heat with a touch of sweet. Seared smoked peppers and savory Mexican spices, blended with a hint of pure honey for a perfectly balanced sauce. All combined with fresh, tender chicken hot off the grill, served up in your favorite burrito or bowl. New Chipotle Honey Chicken takes heat and sweet to a whole new level. But it's only at Chipotle for a limited time. Order now in the app for pickup or delivery. Chipotle, for real.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Rated T for teen. Each year, thousands of adults lose their shred. It's an epidemic simply known as shred loss. But it doesn't have to be this way. Because rekindling your shred is as easy as playing the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. With new parks, cross-platform multiplayer, and sick new game modes, we can put an end to shred loss everywhere. Get the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 and show the world that the shred's not dead. Get Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 available now.
This episode is brought to you by Buffalo Trace Distillery. Powerful yet smooth. Contained but never tame. Proudly going their own way, but never going alone. This is the spirit inside Buffalo Trace Bourbon. Made at Buffalo Trace Distillery, the world's most award-winning distillery. Buffalo Trace is always perfectly untamed. Distilled, aged, and bottled by Buffalo Trace Distillery, Franklin County, Kentucky. 90 proof, 45% alcohol by volume. Learn more at buffalotracedistillery.com. Please drink responsibly.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And welcome back, everybody. So the Democratic Party cannot get out of its own way when it comes to messaging. And as somebody who's on TV a lot, radio, podcasts, that sort of thing, it's not that hard to prepare for interviews, especially if you're the DNC chair, Ken Martin, when you go to a place like PBS, where you know it's not even going to be slow-pitch softball questions, but basically it's T-ball if you put a beach ball on the tee with a wiffle bat. Like, it's not hard to hit these things out of the park because you could probably anticipate the questions that are coming. And in this case, Martin was asked by the PBS host about Zohran Mamdani and him excusing the slogan, globalize the intifada, which basically means kill all the Jews. And he's like, well, it can mean a lot of different things or a lot of different people. No, actually it doesn't. It literally means wipe out Israel and wipe out every Jew on the planet. And he's justifying it. And somehow, I mean, this just blows my mind. He is leading in the polls to be the next mayor of this city. Oh, anyway, here's cut one. This is Ken Martin on PBS. And when he's asked about this, instead of saying, no, in no way, shape, or form do I support language like that. And while I agree with Mr. Mamdani on certain issues, that is one I certainly do not. No, instead, in this case, basically saying, yeah, Democrats, we're a big tent party, and we like to bring up a lot of different views, including, kill all the Jews. This is cut one. Go.
I needed to learn more.
What about concerns from some of your Jewish colleagues in particular about him not outright condemning the phrase globalize the intifada in a recent interview? Some of your Jewish colleagues have said that could be very disturbing, potentially dangerous. Do you agree with that?
There's no candidate in this party that I agree 100% of the time with, to be honest with you. There's things that I don't agree with Mamdani that he said. But at the end of the day, I always believe, as a Democratic Party chair in Minnesota for the last 14 years, and now the chair of the DNC, that you win through addition. You win by bringing people into your coalition. We have conservative Democrats. We have centrist Democrats. We have labor progressives like me. And we have this new brand of Democrat, which is the leftists. And we win by bringing people into that coalition. And at the end of the day, for me, that's the type of party we're going to lead. We are a big tent party. Yes, it leads to dissent. And
they're going to have to add a word to globalize the intifada for just the Minnesotans out there. And that's where Ken Martin is from. He is a disciple of Tim Walz. No surprise there. Now it's globalize the intifada, eh? Oh, that accent. Sorry if you're from Minnesota. It's so Canadian. But to say that, we're just bringing a lot of different viewpoints, including, the left that, really advocates October 7th, for example. This is how we win elections, by bringing in all different factions of people. Good Lord. Just say, I completely condemn this. I don't know why this is so hard. Well, I guess I know why it's so hard. Because this guy is a wuss. I mean, he's afraid of the backlash that he will get if, God forbid, you criticize Zohran Mamdani. And I'm not going to lump in and say all Democrats are with Mamdani or all Democrats are afraid to speak out against Mamdani, because the biggest and most pleasant surprise that I have seen in modern political times is John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. And I was highly critical of him going into that race against Dr. Oz as far as the Pennsylvania Senate, because I thought he had no business running. And look, he had a heart attack, and that's a stroke, and he had trouble speaking. And I said, well, that probably should disqualify him, because how is he going to speak on the Senate floor when he needs closed captioning just to understand questions? And he was flip-flopping on all these issues like fracking, for example, where he was totally against fracking before he was for it. It sounded like he was just saying these things to try to win an election. Since then, Fetterman has been completely and totally and staunchly behind Israel. He laughs at protesters that approach him on the street as far as Free Palestine and those who criticize him for supporting Israel. He is one of the first Democrats to say that we absolutely need a secure border. And he actually went to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, which then led to a complete backlash from the left, because God forbid you talk to the sitting president and try to find some compromise. So here's Fetterman talking to Fox News about how he doesn't agree with Mamdani in any way, shape, or form, and then even takes it one step further. This is cut 2. Go.
I'm not a voter in New York City, and so I have no dog in that fight. And everything that I've read on him, I don't really agree with virtually any of it politically. So that's just where I'm at as a Democrat. I mean, he's not even a Democrat, honestly.
You want to take that on? He's not even a Democrat.
And that's John Roberts bouncing out of that interview on America Reports. But the point is, let's take that on. Is Zohran Mamdani a Democrat? Well, he's not a Bill Clinton, John F. Kennedy, even Barack Obama Democrat, I suppose, because, all three of those folks, particularly Clinton and Obama, where this really became an issue, really were into the whole deporting illegals out of the country thing. And go back and read and watch Clinton, for example, at the 1995 State of the Union address, where he calls them illegal aliens, which is a big no-no with Democrats right now, and talked about how they were taking jobs from hardworking immigrants who came to this country legally, and we're going to do everything we can to get these folks out of here who entered the country illegally. It will blow your mind that a Democratic president was actually speaking this way. And Barack Obama was called the deporter in chief. He deported by far more illegals out of this country than any other president. Now, he had 8 years to do it, and I'm sure Trump is going to surpass that number and then some. But again, yes, Mamdani is not one of those kind of Democrats, but he's a communist. And let's face it, I guess Democrats aren't communists, but more and more, when you listen to AOC and Bernie Sanders and the Squad and now Mamdani, they are going in that direction, and that's not how you win elections. Well, guys, we're out of time, unfortunately, but thank you for joining us again on this Sunday in July. We'll be back next week on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel for Towers Foundation show. I'll see you when I see you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Sunday Morning Show. You can hear Judge Janine's Tunnel to Towers Sunday Morning Show Sunday mornings at 10. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.